Good afternoon. We've been reviewing and evaluating this issue with respect to General Flynn on a daily basis for a few weeks, trying to ascertain the truth. We got to a point not based on a legal issue, but based on a trust issue, where the level of trust between the President and General Flynn had eroded to the point where he felt he had to make a change. The issue here was that the President got to the point where General Flynn's relationship misleading the Vice President and others, or the possibility that he had forgotten critical details of this important conversation, had created a critical mass in an unsustainable situation. That's why the President decided to ask for his resignation, and he got it. The irony of this entire situation is that the President has been incredibly tough on Russia. He continues to raise the issue of Crimea, which the previous administration had allowed to be seized by Russia. His ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, stood before the UN Security Council on her first day and strongly denounced the Russian occupation of Crimea. As Ambassador Haley said at the time, the, quote, dire situation in eastern Ukraine is one that demands clear and strong condemnation of Russian actions. President Trump has made it very clear that he expects the Russian government to de-escalate violence in the Ukraine and return Crimea.
Back in January, the president said that nobody in his campaign had been in touch with the Russians. Now, today, can you still say definitively that nobody on the Trump campaign, not even General Flynn, had any contact with the Russians before the election?
My understanding is that what General Flynn has now expressed is that during the transition period, well, we were very clear that during the transition period, he did speak with the ambassador.
I'm talking about during the campaign.
I don't have any, there's nothing that would conclude me that anything different has changed with respect to that time period.
And why would the president, if he was notified 17 days ago that Flynn had misled the vice president and other officials here, and that he was a potential threat to blackmail by the Russians, why would he be kept on for almost 3 weeks?
Well, that assumes a lot of things that are not true. The president was informed of this. He asked the White House counsel to review the situation. The first matter was whether there was a legal issue. And we had to review that whether there was a legal issue, which the White House counsel concluded there was not. As I stated in my comments, this was an act of trust. Whether or not he actually misled the vice president was the issue. And that was ultimately what led to the president asking for and accepting the resignation of General Flynn.
Can the president instruct him to talk about sanctions?
No, absolutely not. No. But no, and there's no, that's never.
So you prefer he had not done it?
Well, I think the president had no problem with the fact that he acted in accord with what his job was supposed to be doing. He had the ability to talk about issues that were important, whether it was that or the 30 other countries that he spoke to. That was part of his job.
To clarify,
Yeah.
the president does not believe that any discussion that might have taken place, and we know from
Right.
intel it did, on sanctions, creates a problem for the president in any way. That is not a problem. That General Flynn discussed sanctions with the Russians.
No, there was, as I can't state it clearly enough, there was nothing in what General Flynn did in terms of conducting himself that was an issue. What came down to, plain and simple, was him misleading the vice president and others and not having a firm grasp on his recollection of that.
John, the president tweeted this morning, the real story is leaks, illegal.
It is leaks. But if you think about this, understand that all of this information was leaked.
You said earlier in your comments that the president has been incredibly tough on Russia. How is that possible? He has made, after comment, over the course of the campaign, the transition, where he defended Vladimir Putin. He had an interview with Bill O'Reilly where when he was asked, if Vladimir Putin's a killer, he said, well, America hasn't been that much better in this regard. Also, to me, it seems, and I think to a lot of Americans, it seems that this president has not been tough on Russia. How can you say that?
Because I just walked through. I think there's a difference between the president wanting to have an understanding of how a good relationship with Russia can help us defeat ISIS and terrorism throughout the world. Look, the Obama administration tried to have a reset with Russia. They failed. They tried to tell Russia not to invade Crimea. They failed. This president understands that it's in America's national and economic interest to have a healthy relationship. If he has a great relationship with Putin and Russia, great. If he doesn't, then he'll continue on. But he's not going to just assume that because it wasn't able to happen in the past. I think you've seen with Prime Minister Abe in particular and others that the reset that Prime Minister Netanyahu has talked about tomorrow. So many of these countries from around the globe are looking forward to resetting the relationships that this country has with them, that they feel as though that they were abandoned over the last 8 years, and that they are excited about the prospect of a new U.S. relationship under a Trump administration. So, but with respect to Russia, I think the comments that Ambassador Haley made at the UN were extremely forceful and very clear that until they leave...
Not the president.
She speaks for the president. I speak for the president. All of us in this administration, and so all of the actions and all of the words in this administration are behalf and at the direction of this president. So I don't think we could be any clearer.
Is the administration undertaking any sort of effort, either cabinet-wide or like inside the shop, to make sure that everyone comes forward who had any communications with the Russians about sanctions or otherwise?
There is no other information. I mean, as far as we are aware, that is an isolated incident that occurred. And again, the key point in this isn't that there were discussions. There was nothing wrong or inappropriate about those discussions. It purely came down to a matter of trust. That's it. Thank you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Happy Valentine's Day.